Hello everyone, Francis Walsh here again with thedigitalmerchant.com, and today we're going to be talking about online notary services and particularly how much they cost and how much your business is likely to have to spend to have access to one of these services. Now, cost is a really kind of important consideration here, primarily because notarization really is a check the box exercise. It's not something where quality is a huge differentiator, to be honest. It's not like there's one remote online notary that does a much better job than any of the others. It's a pretty much an open and shut kind of a function, and so you want to make sure you're not spending too much on it. So you think this might be simple, but in actual fact, it's a little bit difficult to work out which online notary service represents the best value for money for you. And this is because different companies use different pricing structures. So there are some pay as you go models, there are some monthly subscriptions, there are certain extra charges for add-ons that you may or may not need depending on your use case. So there's a lot to unpack, and it really is important that you consider everything to make sure you're not getting ripped off, essentially. So firstly, we'll have a look at the various factors that can impact remote online notary pricing. So first we'll look at per notarization charges. So these are pretty much your basic fees that you're going to pay for a single notarization. And these are typically going to run you $25 per notarization. And that's going to include typically one stamp and one signer. You'll then pay $5 to $10 extra for each additional stamp or each additional signer you want, depending on whether that's something you need. And then there are optional extras as well. So some platforms will offer mobile notary services where they'll physically send a notary out to you, and that'll obviously be a bit more. That could be $70 or $80. And then there are also international signings, and I'll get to those a little bit later on because there is one platform in particular that does specialize in those. But if you're not signing up for a monthly subscription, those are the kinds of charges you can expect. From there, then, the next kind of thing you're going to be looking at is a monthly subscription. Now, these obviously are for businesses that have a large demand for notary services. If you're getting dozens of documents notarized each month, you'll probably want to look into one of these subscription models, and they vary widely in price. So you have, options that will be maybe $40 or $50 a month, and they will get you a certain amount of notarizations for free and some extra features as well. And you have everything then up to the enterprise tier that can run you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month if you have a really high demand for notarization services. And obviously this is something that you need to consider in the context of your own business needs and your own notarization demands. But just to let you know that that is kind of the structure we're dealing with. The other factor then to consider if you're looking at a subscription is the extra features you'll get from that subscription. And a lot of notary platforms do lock their kind of higher end features behind their enterprise tiers. So just for example, this can include things like biometric verification, unlimited access for team members, extra document storage, so memory essentially, I-9 verification, custom branding, document templates, the ability to connect your own notary, and all that kind of thing. Typically, these are additional extras that you're only going to find on a monthly subscription tier. Again, it's going to depend on whether you actually need these things, whether these kind of things feature in your notarization workflows, and whether they justify the added expense. So generally speaking then, there's no real easy answer to the question of how much does remote online notarization cost, because it just does depend massively on the subscription tier that you're on, the amount that you're using the service, and various other factors like that as well. So the basic cost for an online notarization is going to be $25, but if you're getting it done more regularly, then the per unit cost is going to work out a bit more cheap than that, or potentially a lot more cheaply than that if you're doing it a lot. So next then, we're going to look at some specific service providers in this area, and I'm going to make a couple of recommendations depending on your price point and depending on the specific type of service that you're looking for. So the first company I'm going to recommend here is called One Notary, and the reason is I think it caters to pretty much every type of business when it comes to pricing. It offers a really robust pay-as-you-go tier that will give kind of access to businesses who only want notarization done very rarely. It also has the business professional tier here in the middle, which is pitched at a pretty reasonable $49 a month and unlocks a lot of extra features. And then it has the enterprise tier as well, which allows businesses with very high notarization demands to access a plan that will work for them. Couple that with the fact that I just think it's a really robust platform, which means that you're getting quite a lot for your money. You're getting 24/7 notary access, you're getting a really diverse range of experience when it comes to the notaries on offer. You're getting a really user-friendly platform that's reliable. And overall, you're just getting a notary service that you can be really confident about and that you can rely on and that you know is going to see you through for the long haul. So I just think that if you're the average business, if you need to get, a certain amount of documents notarized each month, regardless of what kind of vertical you're in, I think one notary probably is the best decision for you. Now, there are some specific use cases in which different notary services might be better. One of these is international notarization. So if you're doing a lot of international notarizations or even a lot of notarizations within the US that have a lot of complex kind of scenarios to them, if there are multiple signers, things like that, I think NotaryCam is a good option in this scenario because as you can see here, it has a special price here for $79 for international signers. And this represents really good value, particularly because I think the platform is set up with international notarizations in mind. It has a really broad pool of international notaries and it's active in, I think, 145 countries. So for those businesses that do get international notarizations done regularly, I think NotaryCam might be the right way to go. I would say, though, that if this isn't you and if you're not, getting a lot of stuff notarized overseas regularly, I would just go with one notary or a different kind of notarization provider. I just think this platform is a little bit too expensive and too robust unless you really need the services it provides. But if you do have a lot of international notarization demands, I think there's a lot to be said for NotaryCam. But in conclusion then, on the question of how much does online notarization cost, the basic cost is probably going to be $25 for your average notarization. If you're going to need add-ons, then they're going to be a little bit more, maybe, $10 for your additional signer, your additional seal. And then once you get into the territory of monthly subscriptions, it kind of becomes a question of how long is a piece of string? Like how regularly are you going to be requiring it? What kind of extra features do you need? And all those questions are going to massively alter the monthly price you'll be paying. In terms of recommendations, as I was saying, the prices between providers do tend to be quite similar. So if I was to make a recommendation, I would recommend one notary because I just think it's the most robust platform at that price point and it's the best option for the greatest number of businesses, in my opinion. But best of luck to anyone who's signing up for an RON service in the near future. I hope it all goes well for you. That's all from me on this video and I'll see you all in the next one.